Hi, I'm Gene Carr. Welcome to the Eagle's Eye, catching up with Berkshire visionaries. And today I'm here with Jane Iredale. Jane is an entrepreneur. Over 30 years ago, she started a company that bears her name that's become a worldwide phenomenon in the area of skincare and cosmetics. And so first I'd like to say welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for asking me.
Now, the story of your company has been well told, and people that are interested can find out more about it. But the story that I think wants to be told and needs to be told is about you as a corporate visionary in a world of what some people call corporate responsibility. When you started the company, and today if you go to your website, you'll see that from the get-go, you felt like the company needed to give back, that a company that produces products is fine, but a company needs to do more than that. And why don't you sort of give me how did you know that that was something that was important for you in building your business?
I'm not sure I did know it, but I had the feeling that if you contributed to your community and took care of your employees, that somehow the business would grow. Those pieces came together to create an energy that would result in success.
Yeah, and again, this is translated into the local community. I mean, the company and the headquarters is here in Great Barrington, and you personally and also through your company have encouraged your employees to be on boards and to get involved. Can you talk a little bit more about what does the company do in the community?
Oh, well, how long do you have?
Exactly.
It's so hard to feel that you can make a difference on a big scale. And if you're something like Microsoft or Apple, then obviously you have enormous influence.
Yeah.
But as a small company and in a small community, I feel the only difference that you can make that's really effective and long-lasting is locally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we've concentrated our efforts. So we have employees in Berkshire County, all over Berkshire County, but also some that cross the line into New York and Connecticut. Now, of course, we have so many people working remotely,
Right,
that we can influence and bring a positive influence to bear on all kinds of things, from farming community, which is a personal love of mine, to the arts, to things that aren't very glamorous and don't get a lot of attention. For example, we do a lot with women's organizations, and it's not easy to fundraise for things that the arts are
right.
fairly glamorous and give people a lot of satisfaction, but donating to the Humane Society doesn't get your name in lights. And so we've tended to focus, and this is Cookie, by the way.
Hello.
Who now wants to get down and
Speaking about the Humane Society.
Yeah. That's been what we've tried to encourage our employees, and where my focus has been. From when we started the company, the whole idea was to enhance the lives of women. And I felt that if we stayed clear about that, it would guide everything that we do. I'm thrilled to see so many women now going into farming.
You did a really extraordinary thing last year here in the Berkshires with respect to farming and land trust. So if you could explain how that works and what you did and why you did it, right. I think people would be really interested to learn.
Well, first of all, we made our parking lot available to the Great Barrington Farmers Market.
Right.
And that turned out to be absolutely a wonderful decision on their part, because it brought them downtown.
Yeah.
It became a community meeting place for all ages. And I'm thrilled when I go out on a Saturday morning and walk around and talk to the farmers and see how busy they are, and when I see them sell out of everything they bring, it's a real thrill for me.
Yeah.
But in the process of that, I got to know their stories, a lot of their stories, and farming, I realized farming is really hard. And if these small farmers, Berkshire County used to be just full of farms and farming communities and guild halls and grange halls and so on. And now it feels as though, because of the cost of the land, that it's going to be very difficult for farmers. It already is. So I'm a great believer in fresh local food. I think it's the best medicine you can have. And I want it to be available to everybody. So I have this extreme view that I think farmers shouldn't have to pay for land, and the land trust makes that possible. If we can buy land, let the land trust own the land, lease it to the farmer, which they do for 99 years at no cost. The farmer owns the building, can buy the buildings, own any improvements they make to the land, like soil improvement, for example. And then if they decide to leave, they can sell it to the next farmer. But the land always stays in perpetuity as a farming. And that's owned by the land trust.
And you essentially spearheaded an effort just up the road here in Great Barrington.
Right, in Great Barrington, in the middle of Great Barrington, there is a 78-acre farm.
And am I right that it's a couple that runs it? Tell me a little about the farmers.
Yes, they're off-the-shelf farm, Anna Houston and her husband Rob. And they've always had a wonderful stand at the farmers market where they do the best egg sandwiches ever. You've had some with me. And so up until then, until they moved on to the farm, they had a field here on a handshake, a field over here they were renting, a field over here. They were 4 hours a day moving chickens from one field to the other, just the gas alone and the time alone. Now they've been able to consolidate their business. And as soon as that became a reality for them and they had a place, then they were able to go for a grant, and the state has just given them a sizable grant to put up a barn and a greenhouse that will house 3,000 chickens for the winter. So, you know, you can tell I'm a little obsessed about this, and I don't know how many other people are, but it seems to me that it is an absolute basic need to have fresh local food. Otherwise, we're going to be reduced to eating processed food, which is full of chemicals we don't need, and our health certainly doesn't need, and in the hands of big corporations. And we have this opportunity here to be really self-sufficient in many ways.
And do you think this land trust approach is replicable? Is it possible?
Absolutely. The problem is with all conservation groups and land trusts is it takes time to raise the money to buy the land. So you need somebody to be able to step in and buy it before it becomes a gravel pit or a solar field or a marijuana field, and sort of act as a bridge between the seller and the land trust raising the money.
Got it. Well, this is clearly one of your passions. Now, I also know you have another passion, and it has to do with the Humane Society.
Yes.
And you're very involved both in raising money, but also raising money in, shall we say, unique ways. So perhaps you want to talk a little bit about your Humane Society work.
Yeah, well, we're doing a capital raise to put the Humane Society, the Berkshire Humane Society, in a financially sound footing. It's always been run so well by John Perrault. He's absolutely wonderful, and he's created an organization that people come from all over the country to look at, because he's done such amazing things. When you go in there, you can sense the animals are content and happy and stress-free. So what we wanted to do is take the mortgage off his back, and just so I thought one of the things I could do anyway, was to write a children's story about my dog Cookie. And here it is. It's called Cookie Poco, and it just came out on Amazon, and it's Yeah, the proceeds are going to go to the Humane Society, if there are any proceeds, but you're going to buy a lot.
Yeah, well, this, you know, people are going to find out about it. Now, can people buy this in town as well? Or is it
Well,
only?
it just came out on
see.
Amazon, so they can buy it at the Humane Society.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, what other, are there other areas of interest that you have in supporting this community that we haven't talked about?
Oh gosh, there are so many. Well, I mean, the big one, of course, is workforce housing.
Right.
And I know you're very interested in that and
Yeah.
doing a lot of good work around it. Again, it's the building of the community, and what I've always loved about Great Barrington, and especially Great Barrington, I love the Berkshires, but the Great Barrington is my home, is the diversity and it's a real town.
Yeah.
You know, we've got hardware stores and we don't have any fast food chains, and we're so I want to see that thrive, and that means making sure that people of all economic levels can live here and not be traveling 2 hours to get to a job as a waiter where they're, you know, can barely cover their rent. So what you're doing and what other groups are doing is really important to make sure that we can have housing that is affordable to those people. For example, we have a real lack now in the medical profession. I was hearing about this the other day, that nurses can't afford to live here anymore. Nurse practitioners, we're about half of where we used to be with nurse practitioners, and it's all because of the housing issue.
Right. Part of the benefit of this interview is to get the word out around this notion of workforce housing, because this is not unusual to Great Barrington. This is pervasive across the country.
I know.
But these problems get solved by people who just pick themselves up and say, well, we're going to solve this. And I think there's probably not one solution. There's probably many solutions.
I agree.
And to circle back to kind of where we started, this notion that business can be a force for good, to be a corporate executive, to be on a board of a corporation, to be able to use your platform as a business leader to enhance the community that you're in, is almost, I mean, it's now, I don't want to say a requirement, but it ought to be a requirement. And at least I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs, and almost all of them, from the get-go, build in this notion of giving back into their business plan, which I think, again, you were 30 years ago a visionary in thinking about that. And I think a lot of what we've been talking about today is that companies, and I'll ask, maybe we can finish on this thought, but my thesis is that companies who feel that their responsibility goes beyond simply making a product and making a profit, but companies that feel that their responsibility is to do good in some way are ones that actually have more engaged employees, thrive, and things sort of the company works better.
No, it's so true. And when they do studies on this, they find that money is not by any means the first thing that people want when they look for a job.
Right.
I mean, obviously it's the important part of it, but there are so many other things. And I think our history over the 30 years has been that people really like working here.
Yeah.
They feel supported. They feel they're contributing. And in the end, I think that's what most people want, is to know they're leaving something positive. And I remember, you know, a long, long time ago, reading something that said, if you can affect one person's life in a positive way, then you've done your job. Well, I ask myself that every day.
Yeah.
Did I do something today that made a positive contribution to somebody? And if the people who work for you carry that message as well, then look what an impact that can make. So that, if anything, would be our mission. I mean, from the beginning, we've never done any animal testing. We try to keep our products as clean as we can, so we do no harm. We encourage our employees and support the organizations, nonprofits they work for, like Elizabeth Freeman Center, for example, Railroad Street Project. These are all incredibly important parts of what our community can do. I mean, we now have this wonderful immigrant community here
Yes.
that is really holding us all together with, and they need to be supported. So here's my crazy thing. I feel honestly deeply that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's what drives us where we should be.
Well, I think part of the reason why your company's successful is that people follow your lead, and your vision for your business and your vision for the community really are in harmony, and that radiates from your mouth to your employees to the company. And so thanks for sharing it. I think it's really an important message, and I hope that other businesses really get inspired by this conversation and aim to sort of reflect back what you're doing in their businesses as well. So thanks for the conversation.
Thank you for your time.